Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're taking on a problem that is, well, it's incredibly intimate, but it's also overwhelmingly common. It's that feeling of mental exposure.
Mm-hmm.
You know that sensation, right?
Uh,
Whether it's from just relentless stress or the sheer volume of noise online
right.
or that sudden wave of anxiety, it's a feeling like the thoughts in your head, maybe even your own energy, just aren't private
Wow,
anymore.
we feel vulnerable.
Exactly. Vulnerable, open to the world, or even worse, like they've been completely hijacked. We've actually heard from a lot of listeners recently about this very thing, this feeling of being mentally overwhelmed, emotionally overloaded, or this strange sense that their internal thoughts don't fully belong to them.
And that's such a disorienting feeling. It's one of the most unsettling parts of high stress and anxiety.
It is. It's the stress and the constant external pressure that just leaves you exhausted. Your inner world feels exposed, raw, and just unprotected.
And that's exactly what we are here to tackle. Our mission for this deep dive is to guide you, the listener, through building what we're calling a shielded mind. But this is more than just a coping mechanism, you know.
Right.
It's about creating a fundamentally calm, protected, and most importantly, a consciously owned mental space. We've synthesized a whole stack of sources. We're looking at cognitive psychology, grounding techniques, emotional boundaries, and some really powerful visualization tools.
Mm.
Our goal is to pull out actionable, practical knowledge so you can establish really unshakable sovereignty over your own head.
So we're moving from a state of constant reaction to one of conscious creation, building that mental fortress where you are the only gatekeeper. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's jump straight into the psychology of it, because I think we have to start there.
Yeah.
Why do our thoughts sometimes feel so foreign?
That is the perfect place to begin. The core question is exactly that. Why do these negative, intrusive, sometimes just bizarre thoughts feel like they're entering your mind from the outside?
Yeah, like a bad radio signal or something.
Exactly. It feels incredibly real, like an uninvited guest has just walked into the most private room of your existence.
And what's so disorienting, I think, is that they often feel so opposite to who you are.
Yes.
They're negative or aggressive or fearful, and they just run completely contrary to your conscious beliefs. So if you think you're a good person and suddenly this dark thought just flashes into your mind, it's almost easier psychologically to say, that's not mine, than to admit your own brain made it.
That's a perfect summary of the mechanism. And psychology has a very clear evidence-based answer here. These are defined as intrusive thoughts. But the crucial part is this. While they feel external, like something is coming in,
Right.
the science confirms they are internally generated. They're signals within your own brain. They are not mental invasions from some outside source. They're just cognitive signals that an overworked mind has, well, has mislabeled.
Okay, so if they are internal, then what's happening? What are the conditions that make the brain lose its own recognition system and trick? It's like that. What makes the mind so loud and unfiltered?
The sources all point to a few specific biological and emotional states. And the biggest catalyst by far is stress, chronic anxiety.
Okay.
When your brain detects persistent danger, which is exactly what chronic stress is, it shifts the whole system into a state of hypervigilance.
Hypervigilance. That sounds like a smoke alarm that's just set way too high.
It's exactly that.
Like even a little steam from the shower sets it off.
Perfect analogy. Your brain, in that state, never relaxes. It's constantly scanning. It's scanning the outside world for threats, but it's also scanning your internal world for cognitive threats. And this scanning, it leads directly to the amplification of those internal fear-based signals. The brain is literally looking for evidence of danger. So if a thought zips by, any thought, and it has even a tiny flicker of threat to it, that hypervigilant system grabs it and shoves it right to the front of your consciousness.
And because it was unexpected and it came with that jolt of fear chemistry, it feels alien.
Precisely. It feels like it came out of nowhere.
You also mentioned emotional exhaustion. I think this is a huge one for our listeners. We talk about being physically tired all the time.
Yeah.
But how does draining your emotional reserves make your mind feel so exposed?
When you're emotionally exhausted, your prefrontal cortex, that's the regulator, the filter, the rational part of you, it just runs out of fuel. It's like a muscle that's been overworked.
It's tired.
It's tired. And it can no longer dedicate the resources to filter what's coming in or regulate your emotional responses. And that means the gate is just wide open. Thoughts that you would normally dismiss as just, mental static, they get through and they come through with the volume cranked all the way up.
So if your filters are down from exhaustion, you're just vulnerable.
Instantly vulnerable. to intrusive loops, to absorbing other people's emotions, all the things we're going to cover.
And of course, the physical drivers.
Super.
Trauma reminders are a huge one, right? They immediately flick that switch into raw, unfiltered scanning mode. And then there's sleep deprivation.
Oh, sleep deprivation is a cognitive catastrophe. The sources are so clear on this. Deep sleep is when the brain does its cleanup. It consolidates memories, it balances neurotransmitters,
All maintenance.
all the critical maintenance. And when you're deprived of that, the whole filtering system is compromised. You lose the ability to rationally process what's coming in. So this leads directly to overthinking, overstimulation, a heightened, almost painful sensitivity. It's a perfect recipe for creating the illusion of external thoughts.
The illusion.
The system is just too afraid to tell the difference between a signal from you and a signal that feels like it's from somewhere else.
Okay, so let's break down that mechanism of the illusion itself. When all this stuff comes together, the stress, the exhaustion, no sleep, how does the brain actually perform that neurological trick? How does it convince us?
It's a trick of speed and urgency. When the system is hyper-aware, it scans really, really fast. And thoughts connected to fear, which come from the more primitive parts of the brain, they get priority. They're flagged as urgent.
Yeah, jump the queue.
They jump the queue, exactly. And because the thought happens so quickly, it bypasses the normal self-recognition loop, the loop that says, oh, I'm the one thinking this.
Yeah.
It just feels startling, unexpected. It doesn't line up with the conscious self you recognize. So the easiest cognitive shortcut for a stressed brain is to just label it external.
It's an attribution error.
Driven entirely by anxiety.
That is the critical insight. I think that's what we need everyone to really internalize right now. Your mind is still yours. Your thoughts are still yours. The feeling of invasion is a symptom of an overworked, unfiltered brain. It's not evidence of an actual invasion.
Yes.
Understanding that is the first step. We're dealing with programming and protection here, not magic. Okay, so now that we get the diagnosis that this feeling of exposure is an internal malfunction, we start to build some foundational control. We're going to move into a really powerful visualization tool. It's called the private room analogy.
We're shifting from just understanding the problem to actually implementing a solution. And it starts with this analogy. It's simple, but it's really profound. Just imagine your mind is a completely private room.
Okay.
And crucially, this room has only one door, one lock, and one key. And that key is always, right now, in your hand.
The power of that is the clarity it brings to the idea of permission.
Yeah.
Because I think what our sources show is that most of us are walking around with this door not just unlocked, but wide open.
But wide open. There's a welcome mat out for everything and everyone.
Right. And what happens when that door is wide open? What starts to pile up inside?
It's not just a little mental dust. It's an avalanche of cognitive and emotional debris. The sources identify some really specific stuff that we just let walk right in.
Give us some examples. What's this debris?
Okay, so a big one is negative comments and guilt. You know, that sarcastic comment a colleague made 2 days ago. You've let it walk into your private room, unpack its bags, and start repeating itself on a loop.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Then there's external pressure and expectations. The idea that you should be doing more or you should be happy in a specific way that, social media or your family dictates.
That one feels like it takes up the most space. It feels heavy.
It does. It feels really heavy and permanent. And then, of course, past memories, especially those moments of failure or embarrassment, they just keep looping uninvited. They become squatters in your mental space.
And the last one, which might be the most draining.
Other people's raw emotions. This is huge. We absorb their anger, their sadness, their anxiety, and we let it sit on our mental sofa, convinced that now it's our problem to solve.
So it's not a private room at all. It's like a chaotic public storage unit that anyone can access.
Exactly. You wouldn't let strangers walk into your house, move your furniture around, and leave their trash, but we do it with our minds all the time.
And the danger of that open door policy is that it actually teaches your brain to blur the line between what's you and what's not you.
That's the core of the problem. When you let external expectations or someone else's guilt just settle in, your brain starts to process it as part of your own identity, your reality, your responsibility. The boundaries just collapse.
Which leads directly to that feeling that your thoughts aren't even yours anymore.
Precisely.
Okay, so this is the immediate actionable step. For you listening, wherever you are right now, we're going to move beyond just talking about this to actually doing it. Visualize that room and visualize that door. Now, take the action. In your mind's eye, close the door. See it. A heavy, secure door swinging smoothly on its hinges. Hear that quiet but firm thunk as it connects with the frame. And most importantly, visualize the lock engaging. Feel the solidity of that. Feel that boundary become real.
And right after that visualization, you program your first command. This is the act of claiming ownership. You can say it quietly in your mind, or if you're alone, say it out loud to really solidify the intent. These are my thoughts. No one enters without permission.
And this isn't just a nice little mantra.
No, not at all. This simple act is actively programming your brain's filtering mechanisms. You're giving your cognitive system a direct instruction. Recognize and respect internal boundaries. You are telling your own system, I decide who gets in.
So locking the door to the private room, that's the crucial first step. But a single locked door can still be pounded on, right? Or you can still hear all the noise from outside.
That's a great point. We need to move beyond just a simple defense to active, energetic protection.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We're going to build the actual shield using what we're calling the thought shield method.
And this method is built on 3 interconnected, science-backed tools: controlled breathing, visualization, and commanded intent. We have to start with the physical.
Why the physical first?
Because a mind that feels exposed is usually running on a nervous system that's stuck in high alert. A frantic body just cannot support a shielded mind.
Right. So let's detail step 1. Breathing rhythm for softening the mind. This is not just take a deep breath. This is a specific physiological intervention.
The rhythm is everything. So you inhale deeply, deliberately, for a slow count of 4.
All right.
You hold that breath for just 2 seconds, and then, this is the critical part, you exhale slowly and smoothly for 6 seconds.
So the exhale is longer than the inhale.
Much longer. That extended 6-second exhale is the cornerstone of the shield physiologically. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve.
Yeah.
That's like the main information highway from the brain to the body, isn't it?
It is. And when you extend that exhale, you are sending a powerful, unmistakable signal back up to your brain that says the danger is over. It is safe to rest.
And that would lower cortisol, adrenaline, all the stress chemistry.
Instantly. The goal here is to do maybe 5 to 10 rounds of this. Let every single exhale actively soften the mind, reduce the tension that makes you feel exposed. You have to physically downregulate first.
Okay. So once the body is calm, the mind is softer, more receptive, then we move to step 2.
Exactly. Step 2 is choosing and forming the visualization. Your shield has to be personal. It has to feel real and robust to you.
The sources gave some really cool options for this, and the key is to pick the one that resonates most with your idea of protection.
Right. For some people, it might be a glowing sphere of light. That represents this soft but impenetrable energy. It repels negativity without being hard.
Others might prefer something more solid, like a metal helmet. That offers this firm structural protection. It feels heavy and reliable.
Yeah, or a transparent bubble, which is great because you can still see out and connect with the world, but it keeps all the energetic and emotional stuff out.
Or a wall of light, an energy dome.
Right. The image itself is less important than how real it feels to you.
And the process of forming it has to be visceral, you said.
Absolutely. You have to really picture it forming around your mind or maybe your whole body. Focus on the sensory details. What's its texture? Is it warm or cool? Does it have a weight and energy? The more sensory detail you add, the more your subconscious locks it in as real.
Okay, so we have a calm body, we have a visualized shield. But you said a visualization without direction is just inert.
It's just a pretty picture. So that brings us to step 3, commanding the shield with intent. This is where you program its function. You give it a job.
You have to define what the shield is supposed to do.
Explicitly. You assign it specific targets that it has to intercept and block. This is what makes it effective.
Are you giving it a security brief?
I love that. A security brief. And the targets are all those things we identified. General negativity, the return of those intrusive thoughts, emotional influence from other people, raw, paralyzing fear, external pressure, and those nagging old voices from the past.
The inner critic.
The inner critic, yeah. This whole step is just explicit programming for your brain. You're installing the parameters for safe, sovereign mental operation, and you can reinforce it by tying it to your breath. As you breathe out, you can think, my shield repels fear.
And the core instruction is always,
only my chosen thoughts may enter. By actively choosing what's allowed in, you're retraining the whole boundary mechanism that got weakened by stress. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, a great way to think about this is like your mind is a really sophisticated computer, and right now it desperately needs a good firewall. A firewall. So its job is to filter incoming signals and block the bugs.
Exactly. And the bugs are what psychology calls cognitive distortions.
So errors in our thinking process.
Yes. When we're tired or anxious, our brains take these illogical shortcuts. They turn ambiguous situations into these overwhelming crises. The firewall has to catch those shortcuts before they create all that noise.
Okay, so we're building a cognitive firewall. What are the most common distortions it needs to block?
There are three that are most relevant to this feeling of intrusion. The first one is mind reading.
Mind reading. That's assuming you know what other people are thinking.
And you assume it with absolute certainty. They're judging how I handled that meeting. They're thinking bad things about me because I'm quiet. And that one feels external because it's tied to another person. It feels like their thought is leaking into yours.
That's the key. So let's take an example. Your friend cancels dinner. Mind reading isn't just wondering why. It's the conviction that they canceled because they're secretly furious at you for something you said last week.
Right.
The firewall has to immediately engage the reality check. You cannot know what someone else is thinking. That assumption is a projection of your own anxiety. It is not a fact.
Okay, that's a big one. What's the second distortion?
The second is catastrophizing. This is the brain's tendency to jump straight to the worst possible outcome. It skips over 5 or 6 perfectly logical, neutral outcomes to get to the disaster.
I sent that email too late. I'm definitely getting fired.
Yes. Or, my kid is 10 minutes late from school. They must have been in a terrible accident. It just keys the nervous system to maximum alarm all the time.
So the reality check for that one is?
This is fear, not fact. Catastrophizing is your imagination running wild with anxiety. It's creating fictional futures that are statistically improbable. Your firewall has to tag that thought as highly destructive but with very low validity.
A prediction, not an
A
analysis.
prediction of disaster, yes.
And the third one, which ties right back to our core problem.
Externalization. This is the cognitive error where you assign an internal signal an outside origin.
This isn't my thought. Something is influencing me.
Mm-hmm. And the psychological truth here just has to be reinforced again and again. These feel foreign, but they are internal brain signals amplified by stress. The firewall's job is to recognize that feeling of foreignness as a symptom of being overstimulated, not as proof of invasion.
Recognizing that they're internal is the first step to taking their power away.
It's the critical step.
So how do we put this firewall into practice? When one of those thoughts hits, that certainty about your boss's anger or the imminent disaster, what do we do?
We use the firewall technique. It's a critical thinking process with 4 key filtering questions. The moment the thought arrives, you have to halt it. Just freeze it in your mind.
Okay.
And you ask the first question, the empirical check. Where is the evidence? And not, is it possible, but where is the undeniable objective proof that this is true?
The second question is about logic. Is this logical? Does this thought follow a reasonable chain of events, or is it a wild leap?
Exactly. Is it logical that a mild disagreement 2 weeks ago means your boss is planning to fire you today? Probably not.
The third question brings back ownership. Did I choose this?
Yes, and this is key for externalization. If the answer is no, if the thought just arrived with a jolt of anxiety, you can immediately recognize it as an unwanted intrusion.
And the fourth question?
The fourth helps you separate yourself from the symptom. Could this just be stress or fear manifesting as a thought? Recognizing that you're in a reactive state lets you label the thought as just neurological noise, not some profound truth.
But wait, I can hear the listener thinking. If I'm in a panic, will my anxiety just answer all those questions negatively anyway? How do you make it stick?
That's a great question. The trick is consistency and separation. You are not asking the anxious part of you these questions. You're asking your critical, observing self to analyze the anxious thought. You treat it like data.
Like it's on a spreadsheet, not like a command.
Perfect. And if it fails those tests, no evidence, not logical, wasn't chosen, probably just fear, it gets categorized as a bug. And you quarantine it.
And once it's quarantined, you can't just leave a void there.
You can't. You have to firmly substitute it with a statement of fact and authority. You state, this is an intrusive thought. It has no power. This strips its emotional weight and reaffirms that you are in control of the filter.
Okay, we have a really detailed defense for thoughts now. But so often, the overwhelm isn't mental noise. It's emotional. It's that awful feeling when you walk into a room, you just feel the heavy sadness, or you absorb someone's anger, and it instantly becomes your mood.
This is such a critical distinction. We're moving from filtering cognitive stuff to blocking emotional absorption. For people who are highly sensitive, this feels exactly like a mental invasion.
Yeah, your friend is angry, and suddenly you feel frustrated and heavy, even though it has nothing to do with you.
And we have to be clear about what this is. It's emotional absorption driven by empathy and a lack of energetic separation. It is not telepathy. It's a powerful form of boundary crossing.
You're internalizing the emotional energy someone else is projecting.
Think of yourself as a clean, dry sponge. If you're tired and your boundaries are down, you're just ready to soak up whatever is around you. That outside emotion can completely hijack your own inner state.
You lose track of whose emotion is this.
You do. So we need to build a wall, not a sponge. And we do that with the 3-step emotional boundary fix.
Okay, what's step one?
Step 1 is separation. You have to stop the feeling and ask very clearly, is this my emotion or is it theirs? And you can use context clues. If your anxiety spiked the second you picked up the phone to talk to a specific person, it probably belongs to them.
Right?
And if you determine it's theirs, you have to immediately visualize placing that emotion outside your boundary. Put it on a chair nearby. Give it back to them energetically. You just have to internally say, I see this as yours, but it is not mine to carry.
That refusal to internalize is the first act of emotional sovereignty.
Yes.
Okay, what's step two?
Step 2 is visualization refinement. We move beyond the mental shield around your head, and now we picture a soft but totally impermeable bubble of light or energy around your entire body, extending a foot or two out in every direction.
So this covers your whole emotional and energetic field.
Your whole field. And the command for this bubble is a bit different. It's softer. You command it with the intent. Only peace and positive intentions may enter. Everything else, their anxiety, their moods, their stress, stays out.
This anchors the separation physically.
And that brings us to step 3, which is using mental privacy statements. These are affirmations specifically designed to build that emotional distance.
And these need to be repeated until they become automatic.
They need to become your default setting in conversations. Things like, my thoughts belong only to me. I keep my mind to myself. And the most critical one when you're dealing with someone else's intense emotions.
What's that?
Their emotions are not my emotions. This is so crucial. You can still have compassion, you can have empathy for what they're going through, but you are not obligated to adopt their distress as your own personal burden. It creates that emotional firewall.
Okay, next up, we have to talk about that feeling of repetition, where a fear or a mistake or some shame just replays endlessly. It's like a video loop you can't turn off.
And that pattern often feels external, doesn't it? It feels like something is sending you the same thought over and over.
Yes, exactly. But you're saying it's just a neural pathway, a loop the brain has created.
It's just a well-worn path. The brain loves efficiency, even if that means efficiently repeating a painful thought. And the only way out is through what are called pattern interruption techniques.
So these are designed to just snap the brain out of the loop.
Literally. You need immediate, decisive action that completely changes the physical or cognitive pattern. It stops the neurological momentum of the thought.
So the second you recognize the loop is starting, that same old fear, that same replayed mistake, you have to introduce something jarring.
Something unexpected. And the sources list several really effective ones. For a mild loop, you just have to change your physical state. Stand up if you're sitting. Or change your posture drastically. That immediate shift forces your brain to focus on balance and spatial awareness, and it pulls energy away from the loop.
Okay, what about for a more persistent loop?
Then you use sensory input. Look at a different wall. Focus intensely on an object you haven't been looking at. Or, a really powerful one, use a kinesthetic interrupt. Touch cold water, splash it on your face, hold an ice cube for 10 seconds.
Oh, that would do it.
That sudden, intense temperature shift is a powerful way to reground yourself in the present reality.
What about internal commands?
You can use the breathing technique, the 4-2-6, but here the focus is on speed and force. Take 10 immediate, deep, forceful breaths. And then there's the most direct interrupt for an internal loop, saying stop firmly, internally, or if you're alone, out loud. You have to say it like you're slamming on the brakes.
I feel like choosing the right interrupt is key here. Deep breathing might not work if you're already in a full-blown panic.
You're absolutely right. If the loop is severe, you need the maximal sensory input. The cold water, the physical shift. If it's a low-level worry, a firm internal stoppy and a posture change might be enough.
And all of them work because they force your attention out of the abstract fear and back into the concrete physical world.
They disrupt the firing pathway, but once the loop is broken, you can't just leave it there. The brain hates a vacuum.
Right, the essential follow-up step.
You have to immediately replace the void with a foundational, soothing affirmation that directly counters the loop's content. So if the loop was, I am not safe, the replacement is, I am safe. I am in control.
If the loop was, I failed, the replacement is, I am capable, I am resilient.
Exactly. This fills the void with security, and it teaches the brain that interrupting that loop leads to safety. It makes it less likely to reform.
So we've built these mental filters and emotional boundaries, but
Mm.
none of it is really going to be unshakable if we ignore the foundation, the body.
You can't separate them. A stressed body will always create an unprotected, vulnerable mind. A calm body provides a strong foundation for everything we've talked about.
The mind can't sustain a fortress if the body is screaming danger.
It can't. So we have to strengthen what we call the nervous system shield. If your body is constantly keyed up, your mind will stay hypervigilant and you'll keep feeling exposed no matter how many affirmations you use.
Okay, so what are some practical ways to strengthen this physiological shield? How do we signal safety to the body?
These are all about long-term safety signals. First, consistent use of that deep breathing and slow exhaling. Make the 4-2-6 breath a daily habit, not just a crisis tool.
Okay.
Second, sensor comfort. Warm showers or baths are incredibly grounding. They signal safety through warmth and rhythm.
Third is physical movement. Walking, especially in nature, discharges all that stored up stress energy, and simple stretching releases tension that gets stored in the muscles.
And fourth, just your environment. Maintaining a clean, quiet space and, most importantly, prioritizing proper sleep communicates to your brain that your physical world is safe and predictable.
So all of these things together lower the brain's internal threat level.
Right. When your nervous system is robust, your mind becomes naturally more protected because the baseline assumption shifts from danger is everywhere to I am fundamentally safe right now.
Okay, so with that physical foundation, there's one last critical distinction we need to make. We've been talking about mental invasion, intrusive thoughts, emotional absorption.
But the common fear that fuels this feeling of exposure is often what we'd call social influence.
And that's not a mental invasion, it's a fear of external judgment, of opinions, expectations.
Yes. We fear what others might think so intensely that we basically invite their perceived judgment right into our private room. Their opinion feels heavy and intrusive, but it's really an emotional influence driven by our own need for validation.
So how do we break that pattern?
There's one critical question you have to ask yourself, and you have to be ruthless about it. The question is, do I need their approval?
But hang on, if I stop needing their approval, does that make me less empathetic? Does it make me kind of arrogant?
That's a really common concern, but the sources are clear on this. Reclaiming your approval sovereignty isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about recognizing that your self-worth comes from inside. It isn't granted from the outside.
So it's the difference between hearing someone's opinion and internalizing it as a final ruling on your worth.
Exactly. You can be empathetic and sensitive without sacrificing your mental sovereignty. And when you ask that question, do I need their approval? And the answer most of the time is no. That realization is a fundamental reaffirmation.
It reinforces that my mind, my choices, my life are mine.
And that they require no external permission to exist. That is the ultimate shield against social influence.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. We've covered the science of intrusive thoughts. We've locked the private room, built the thought shield, installed all these firewalls, calmed the nervous system. We need to synthesize all of this into a manageable daily routine to transform these from just techniques into a core part of your identity, the inner fortress.
Right. And the final visualization is exactly that. The mind as a castle. It's not just a little room anymore. It's a powerful fortress. It has strong walls, a locked gate, guards on patrol.
And deep, private halls where only your most valued thoughts reside.
And in the very center, there's a throne where you sit, representing your core identity in complete and unshakable control.
And that fortress needs daily maintenance, not just one-time build. So let's detail the daily fortress routine to make this a default setting.
The routine starts the moment you wake up. First, morning grounding. Before you even look at your phone, take 1 minute. Feel your feet on the floor, notice the air temperature, acknowledge 3 things you can hear.
Root yourself in the present reality.
Yes. Second, deep breathing and ownership statement. Do 5 rounds of the 4-2-6 breath to set your nervous system to calm, and then immediately follow it with that core statement. My mind is my private room. I am the sole gatekeeper today.
Okay.
Third, visualizing the shield. Take another minute. Actively visualize your chosen shield, the sphere, the dome firmly in place around you. Confirm the perimeter is secure for the day ahead.
And then throughout the day.
Intermittent checks. Anytime you feel a little friction or exposure, do a quick check-in. Is this thought logical? Is this emotion mine? Is my shield up? This keeps minor breaches from becoming major ones.
And finally, at night.
Nightly reflection. Before you sleep, just take a moment. Review the day. Notice if there were any moments the shield felt breached. Identify the source. Was it a distortion? Emotional absorption? Just stress.
And you don't judge it.
No judgment. Just identify it, categorize it, and then reaffirm the fortress for a peaceful night's sleep. This closes the loop and reinforces the learning.
So we've covered the whole blueprint today. How intrusive thoughts work, establishing boundaries, breaking loops, calming the nervous system, and now the daily routine for the fortress mind.
Your inner world is definitively yours. That piece is your right. And shielding is fundamentally an act of freedom. The freedom to choose your thoughts and your emotional state. It's not a fearful reaction.
To reinforce that freedom, we want to leave you with a few core affirmations. Repeating these daily will help solidify your mental safety and ownership.
Yeah, repeat these to yourself. Make them part of your unshakable identity. My mind belongs only to me.
Nothing enters without my permission.
I choose my thoughts.
I am protected, calm, and in control.
And finally, my mind is my safe place. Internalize that architecture.
Which raises an important final question for you to think about. If true mental freedom relies on this conscious, daily commitment to these internal boundaries, how does that shift the way you choose to engage with the sources of information and influence in your external world?
Mm-hmm.
If you know the blueprint of your fortress, are you consuming content that respects the walls you've built? Or are you willingly handing the keys over to all that external noise? Think about that commitment as you build and maintain your ultimate shield.